If this is the first time you're listening to the Wealthy Wednesday show, please remember to subscribe and click on the like button. Welcome to the Wealthy Wednesday show. I am your host, Luci McMonagle. Women are recreating the rules for business, leadership, money, and they are changing the world in the process. Each week, join me for empowering messages and interviews that will inspire, motivate, and transform you. Giving a special shout out to Gordon Weary for creating the custom music that you are listening to now. Now, let's get started. Are you ready to change your money flow? Would you like to get beyond the six figures that you keep bumping up against? Well, let me tell you, my book, Magical Money Manifestations, is going to help you create money manifestations on autopilot so that you will have more money, more freedom, and more joy in your life. Go to magicalmoneymanifestations.com to find out more information. Hey, this is Luci McMonagle, the Mystic Wealth Creator, and I am the mentor for Mystic Entrepreneurs to create more freedom in their business through conscious wealth creation so they can make a big impact in the world and leave a legacy. Today, I have an incredible guest. I'm so honored, so excited that I have Marie Platske, and she is amazing. Ladies, if you are listening today, grab a pen, grab a paper, because Marie left her action-packed life as a federal law enforcement officer to become a CEO of an international leadership training and consulting company, Upside Thinking Incorporated. Her non-traditional career began with stints on the piers of New York, where she became the fastest promoted woman in the U.S. Customs Service. She is an award-winning author of her book of Leadership is About Influence, and she is so incredible. But let me have her tell you more about who she is and how she's going to help you create an impactful and incredible life. Marie, welcome to the Wealthy Wednesday show.
Hello, Luci. It's a pleasure. It's so wonderful to be here with you.
Absolutely. I am so excited. I almost started tripping over my words with you and explaining what you do and all your action-packed services that you've given the world. But how exactly did you transition from being in law enforcement in the customs to opening up Upside Thinking?
That's a great question. And thank you so much. I'm so glad that you stopped where you stopped. So no tripping over words, just simply it was time to stop. And great question. The transition was not a transition I was expecting. I mean, Luci, I loved my job. I loved the work that I did. I loved law enforcement. Going to work was joyful for me and interesting. Every day was something new. And what had happened was I was really set on not having a serious relationship in my life. And so I had been dating and shared with the man that I was dating that I was not interested in a serious relationship. And he was very happy and said, I'm not interested in one either. And so we dated and saw each other every 2 to 3 weeks, lived in different cities, had this great career. And then he proposed. And it was a wonderful, surprise, in New York City at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and just incredibly romantic. And I just thought that I would keep doing what I was doing. I mean, at the time, he had been living in California. At the time, I was living in Dallas, Texas, and I just thought we'd just keep seeing each other every 2 to 3 weeks. And friends of mine said, if you get married, most people live in the same household. And so that became the conversation about then what would I do and who would leave and both in competing careers and how does that work? And so I took a leap and left law enforcement and opened Upside Thinking. I had always been involved in leadership training, and my reason for being in Dallas was post 9/11. I worked with consultants to develop curriculum for the newly formed Department of Homeland Security for senior leaders. So, it was marriage. It was, the accidental entrepreneur, if you will.
Oh, wow. Well, now that's a romance story. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
And from that, this really led you to help turn projects into possibilities and into realities. Can you tell us a little bit about your project of turning possibilities into realities?
Sure. The opening the business was turning a possibility into a reality. And so this was something that has been such a big part of my life. I always say that, while I have this amazing life and love leadership, there were times, Lucy, where I just wasn't somebody that people wanted to be around. And so, when I think about turning possibilities in the world and making a difference, my husband has always seen that. And yet for me, it's been harder to see it. And so I want to take just a step back, if you wouldn't mind me sharing a story about something that happened to me years ago that actually led to this. Would that be okay?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Please.
Great. Thank you. So I shared, that I wasn't somebody that people wanted to be around. And I share that I was struggling in my career early on in law enforcement and was trying to figure that out. Some people have this, I would say, this magical touch where, they have an idea and they can make it manifest into something and it's almost magical. And you and I both know that it's not really magic. There are certain secrets or certain steps or certain elements that happen in order to do that. And so for me, when I was struggling, I attended a leadership training because I knew that I had to do something because I was almost at a breaking point in my career. And when they gave me these assessments about, all sorts of interpersonal skills assessments, what came up was that the instructor stood over me in the class and announced to these 20 community leaders in the New York metropolitan area that I had scored a 0. And she also went on and said, if Lisa invites you to do something, she doesn't really want you to come. And if you invite her to do something and she shows up, she doesn't really want to be there.
Oh, ouch.
That's exactly the word that comes to my mind, and it just makes me sick to my stomach because it wasn't a safe environment at the time for me to receive that feedback, and there was nobody that talked to me for the rest of the day. Heck, nobody talked to me for the rest of the weekend. And while it feels vulnerable to share with you at this moment, the reality is it did not have that same feeling, for me then, and yet it was an event that changed my life. And I don't know that without that event, the turning a possibility into a reality would ever have happened. Because I had a conversation with myself and I said, so Lisa, you could be incredibly smart and right. You could be incredibly strong and tough, but you also might be alone and dead. And what I recognized is that there were so many barriers that I had put up, so many masks, so many, armor, if you will, to be seen as having all the right answers, that there was this piece of me that was not real or authentic. And it actually got in the way of me creating a meaningful and happy life for myself. I mean, I couldn't possibly turn a possibility into a reality because I was even struggling seeing the possibilities because there were so many layers of the of the potential that I couldn't even see because of what was real and what wasn't. What did people want to see? And I would give them that. And so I got curious, and I ended up sharing pieces of myself, including my faith journey, with the guys, parts of me that were hidden. I began asking other people their opinions instead of proving that I was right. And that's actually what led to me being promoted, not because I was the smartest, fastest, strongest, whatever, but because I stopped trying to prove that I was perfect. And I actually learned these magic words. I don't know. That actually is what allowed the guys to have my back. That's what allowed me to be able to take something that might be possible and have the right amount of support, the right amount of connection, the right amount of openness and vulnerability that allowed me to be able to turn that into whatever I wanted, into something that was manifested, into something tangible and real. And years later, I wrote a best-selling book on that and had other people come together and write stories, because the same techniques that I used there to allow me to be promoted on the job were the same things that opened doors in my business. And it's why I say that you understand that so well, that it's not about this magic manifesting where you just hope and wish and pray. There's something to it. There's actions that you have to take. And so for me, my desire to connect and be courageously vulnerable, it actually, what I say in business, has led me to having this $1 billion database of friends with business benefits. So thank you for allowing me to share a story to really explain that.
Yeah, and that's really important, and to really understand that sometimes we have circumstances that they're a big ouch. And sometimes those big ouches lead to the greatest potentials of opportunities. And you actually have an ability to see opportunities from crises. And it sounds like you just completed that in your story. So for the audiences that are listening, let's say they're going through an ouch, or they just came out of an ouch, or they might be going into an ouch, something that might really be painful for them. Is there any certain things that you did aside from get curious and ask questions and become more vulnerable? Is there any other tips that you might be able to give the audience to help them see opportunities in crises that might be going on in their life?
Wow, that's a great question, Luci. And I don't know that anybody has ever asked me that question. So thank you. You're right. There's the getting curious, there's the listening, there's the being vulnerable. All of those things matter. I think that the biggest piece of advice that I gave myself, not that somebody else gave me, was asking the question, is it true? And that was a really painful question to ask, because from the standpoint, am I a zero? Well, no. Marie Platske is not a zero. I'm priceless, and so are you. And yet, the behaviors that were showing up, regardless of where they came from, whether they were designed to potentially keep me safe at one point, was the message of what I was receiving. Were there any parts of it that were true? And it was such a hard lesson, because the part of the story I didn't share with you is I drove home from that experience, in tears. Like, I cried from getting in my car to the entire ride home, and in my, small apartment in Bayonne, New Jersey. And I just cried. And I couldn't have told you then why I was crying, other than the fact that the ouch hurt. And what I realize now in looking back is why I cried is because there were pieces of me that had gotten so lost along the way. And the truth is that the reason why it was difficult for guys to connect with me is because I wasn't even connected to myself. And so there was this idea of what good and good enough looks like that I was trying so hard to be. And so that question of, is it true, allowed me to be able to, be willing to at least explore further, and then to research connection, research positioning, research other elements. And with that, I started asking other people questions. What do you see as my biggest strength? What do you see as my biggest area of development? I met with my boss's 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 boss, who it was hard to have a conversation with her. I did a lot of what I would consider, discernment, discernment with what really was going on here. And that's not easy to do. That's not the comfortable path. I always say that, comfort doesn't change the world. And I'm not out to make people comfortable. And at this point, I certainly wasn't making myself comfortable. And by doing that, it allowed for the greatest amount of change. So I'm not sure if that was what you were looking for, Luci, but it really is what happened to me, was to be able to ask myself that question and be willing to hear the answers that weren't pretty. Because it would have been very easy for me to say, what are these, like, this test's wrong, this assessment's wrong, how could I be a zero? Nobody's a zero. It would have been great for me to come up with 1,001 reasons why this was about the environment I worked in, the guys I worked with, everybody else around me, my childhood upbringing, my socioeconomic, growing up and not having things, my being raised by a single parent, my 6 sets of step parents, calling the police for domestic violence. It could have been like 1,001 excuses as to why I am the way that I am and behaving. And the truth is that would have served nobody, including myself.
Oh, wow. That is so incredibly powerful and so enlightening to really use discernment when you're asking yourself, is this the truth? And then delving a little deeper and uncovering those layers that you've hid from yourself. And that helps individuals in a lot of different aspects. And you also have this acronym called WORK. Could you, did the acronym that you use for WORK, is that the same acronym that you helped to unpack these, is this the truth?
No, the WORK acronym actually came from connection. So the connection piece is that, obviously with this, I didn't know how to connect because, like I said, I wasn't connected to me. And so WORK is about, a lot of times people show up for something not recognizing that connection involves some work. It's not just, I just show up and just like speaking isn't talking, or you and I can have a conversation, but it doesn't mean we're going to have a connection. And so really be able to explain that for myself. This acronym allowed me to be able to simplify it, and it's the W stands for, once again, in the federal government, we like acronyms, so they're easy for me to use. So writing down, what is it? What are the questions you'd love to learn about somebody? What are the things that are most important about the connection? And I don't know that many people do that sort of pre-work, if you will. And then there's the O, and that's the choosing to be open. And openness doesn't mean fully disclosing every single thing about yourself. It just means being open to the possibilities, right? How can you turn them into realities if you're not open to them? So that's the O. And then the R stands for remember. And it's remember their name, remember to be gracious and kind regardless of what people say. It's not, remember to not take it personally. Remember. And I can honestly say that being in law enforcement, people have some really harsh things that they've said to me over the course of the last 25 years. And it's not about me. Their comments are about whatever place they're coming from. So remembering to be, gracious and kind regardless, because that's who you are, not because that's who they are. That's important in connection. And then the K is that everybody has a knockout. You have something, Luci, that makes you so uniquely special. I mean, just how you just love on people, even in this environment where it's we're on video and audio and not sitting next to each other. And yet there's just such love here. And so what's the knockout that you want people to remember you when you're connecting? For some people, it's how smart they are. For some people, it's, how funny they are. For some people, it's not clear. And it should be. You should have an understanding of what's most important that you want to leave people with. It's your imprint. It's your fingerprint, your touch on them. Right now, people who are listening could be any place else, and yet they're here with us. Mm-hmm. You could be any place else. I could be any place else, and yet we're here at this divine moment in time. I mean, how cool is that? So if you're not clear about what that knockout is, well, the world may miss out on the most important gift because you just didn't intentionally set out to give it.
Wow. That, I'm speechless. And the connection is so clear on how you made the connection with yourself. And then when you started making the connection with yourself, you were able to start connecting with other people and using the acronyms. It's so beautiful the way you flowed that. And I would love to keep talking to you for a really, really long time, but we're almost running out of time. And I want to make sure that the audience knows how to get a hold of you and things that you have coming up, and what would you like them to know on how to get a hold of you, and what things do you have coming up that they might be interested in?
Oh, Luci, thank you so much. So upsidethinking.com is my website. So that's UPSIDE and the word thinking. And there's a space on the website that actually, if you put in your name and your email address or you send us a message, we'll be happy to send you some free training and resources, either on connection or internal superpowers or variety of trainings that we have. And then there's also a weekly challenge that goes out. Once again, encouraging courageous, vulnerable leaders to step into their leadership role, because the world really needs you and your brilliance. And so that's one way. And one of the upcoming things that I have is I have an event that happens every January called Design Your Destiny Live, and so love it because it's a room filled of just that, other courageous leaders who have a safe space to be able to map out their plan for the year, connect, have deeper conversations, and like I say, I'll say it again, safe space. That's far more important to me, that people who are interested in that type of transformational leadership for the world have a place to come. So that's Design Your Destiny, and there's more on it on the Upside Thinking website, as well as at designyourdestinylive.com.
Wow. Lisa Maria, this has been so phenomenal. Thank you for being a phenomenal, honored guest on the Wealthy Wednesday show. This was definitely a pen and paper show to write it down, and for individuals to come back to it over and over again. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Luci. It's truly an honor, truly a pleasure and a delight. You hold such safe space as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I want to thank my audience. You are the reason why I get these phenomenal expert guests every single week, so that you will be able to have tips and strategies to improve your personal life, grow your business, and to make more connections with the greater world so you can leave a legacy and make an impact. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're listening to us on YouTube, and be sure to check out my website at lucimcmonagle.com so that you can get to know me more, and I can provide you with more power so that you can have the type of life and business you desire. So until next time, abundant blessings.
Are you ready to change your money flow? Would you like to get beyond the six figures that you keep bumping up against? Well, let me tell you, my book, Magical Money Manifestations, is going to help you create money manifestations on autopilot so that you will have more money, more freedom, and more joy in your life. Go to magicalmoneymanifestations.com to find out more information. Thank you for listening to the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Luci McMonagle. I am the Mystic Wealth Creator, a mentor for conscious women entrepreneurs, helping them create more freedom in their business through conscious wealth creation. I would love to extend to you a free gift. And all you need to do is go to my website at lucimcmonagle.com. That's LuciMcmonagle.com to get your free gift. So until next time, abundant blessings.